There's no hugging in football.
Hi, and welcome to week 2 of the I Formation. I'm Jeff Gibbons.
And I'm John Moist.
Week 1 of the NFL season in the can. And like every every other year, a lot of teams taking their measure. But actually, you did 9-7 because you got your Broncos pick, and I did 8-8. But certainly not a bad showing. When we look at everybody else we were up against this week, a lot of those games were flip-flops. There was several that went to overtime. We lost the Patriots pick, which we were very happy to see, and actually I'm feeling the Dolphin love here. But several of those games, again, a field goal. So, you know what?
Actually, I said that the Broncos were going to win in the blowout, but I got to give Jeff kudos here on calling that Colts game to be close. The Colts outplayed the Broncos in the second half by a wide margin.
Yeah, so we're happily on our way now with our picks started out, and things can only get better, right? So stick around. We're going to go through this week's picks and in a minute or so, and stay tuned.
Hey, welcome back to the I Formation, and we're going to make our picks for week number 2 of the NFL season. Starting with the Thursday nighter, Pittsburgh Steelers go into Baltimore and take on the Ravens. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, lots of swirling controversy out around Baltimore this week, but certainly there's a football game to play. And we're both liking the Baltimore Ravens this week. Think that defensively and offensively they can get the job done with Joe Flacco and that receiving core.
Yeah, Pittsburgh put up a lot of offense last week against Cleveland, but then they allowed Cleveland to climb back into the game. They only ended up winning by a field goal. I think Baltimore at home is going to be really tough here. I think it's going to be a close game. Field goal?
Yeah, not a bad call. I think all those games in that division tend to be like that. Yeah. And two teams that I think are going to be out there at the end of the year. One in the playoffs spot by virtue of winning that division, the other one winning a wild card. Next we've got Detroit and Carolina. And ironically, both of us, or I shouldn't say ironically because it's not ironic, but both of us are agreeing here that Detroit are going to Carolina and they're going to beat them.
Well, they played the Giants there the other night, and didn't Matthew Stafford looked amazing? So did Calvin Johnson.
He's in the best shape of his career. We were talking about that this week, and he made a couple of incredible passes. Johnson, of course, always an addition to your team. You're always picking him early in the schoolyard, right? Putting him out there out wide.
Sure.
And Carolina was a surprise this week. I mean, playing without Cam Newton, who is still inactive, and putting up some good numbers.
Yeah, Derek Anderson went in and got the win there, and played a pretty good game there.
But I don't think they're any match for that Detroit team. I
just flat out think Detroit's a better football team. Yeah.
Enough said. We come to one of the two now that we differ on this week. The Atlanta Falcons are going into Cincinnati to play the Bengals, and we're on different sides of the fence here. I'm taking the Falcons this week. Matt Ryan, incredible show this week, up in the run for NFL Player of the Week, if you will, and he showed some real brilliance and some real patience. And I think that he can go into Cincinnati, a team that tends to be tepid sometimes, and other times very very red hot, and other times they don't even show up. So it all depends too, I think, on what Cincinnati team shows up. But I don't know. I just like the money on the Falcons this week. But you see it a little different.
Well, I see that the Bengals went into Baltimore last week and got a win. The Falcons had a shootout against the Saints, but their defense didn't look very good in that. I think Cincinnati has a better defense, and playing at home, I think that defense shows up and beats Atlanta by a score.
We shall see. Next, we got New England going into Minnesota to play the Vikings. I love one of the sports writers this week said, my Super Bowl prediction crashed to the ground because of Cameron Wake. And they were handled this week by the Miami Dolphins.
In the second half, for sure, they were handled, yes, big time.
But in history, Brady doesn't lose too many double sets of games. Generally, he rebounds very well as a quarterback. You can count probably on one hand how many games or games he's lost consecutively.
And we have to talk about Minnesota here too, with the 34 points they put up against the St. Louis Rams. Was the team I predicted that would be the surprise team this year. They certainly weren't that great last week.
Certainly, and that's the St. Louis Rams, not the LA Rams. Just wanted to clarify that for everybody out in Hamilton land. Just wanted to make sure we were all listening. Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah. And they're beatable at home too. Did you know that?
Yeah, apparently 5-3 last year.
Boy, where's my head? But anyway, back to the Minnesota Vikings, and you were talking about St. Louis.
Yeah, Cordarrelle Patterson for the Vikings. A lot of speed there and a lot of talent. Greg Jennings on the other side is also looking very good, and of course Matt Castle looked good in this game. Minnesota really looked like a very strong team, both offensively and defensively in this game. They had 4 sacks in St. Louis. St. Louis's offensive line looked weak. I couldn't understand it. Their second overall pick, Robinson, was just put in for a few special teams plays, and that was it. Minnesota looked really good, but like you said, they are at home, but they're going against Tom Brady, and Tom Brady always rebounds after a loss.
He'd have been a variable there for the Patriots too. I think this is the most we've ever talked about the Patriots in any of our shows. But it's that receiving core, and I said right at the beginning of this season, if they don't get their act together and get on the right page, and I knew there were problems when they were bringing Tim Wright in as another, in another tight end set. And I don't know, there's Gronkowski obviously isn't 100% yet, but some capable receivers there in Danny Amendola. I mean, there's a lot of people that have moved on as well. So Brady needs to get it around. And he's not the Tom Brady that won 3 Super Bowls. He's a notch below. I mean, the man's in the twilight of his career, and they're moving more to the run game. So Stephen Ridley's got to have a big game for them as well.
There's Shane Vereen.
And Vereen, of course, who was a monster this past week in a losing cost, at least for a half anyway. Next, we've got Dallas going into Tennessee to play the new and improved Tennessee Titans.
Looks great.
Yeah, but for the life of me, I can't figure out why you're picking the Dallas Cowboys to win this game.
I just think that Dallas, it's just a gut feeling, I guess. I mean, Dallas has a lot of offense.
I'm the one with the gut here. So you know what? Like it's better for me. It's better to rely on my gut feelings. At least they're more. I guess they're easier to see on TV. But
Dallas's offensive weapons. Witten through the air. Romo is. I just got a feeling he's going to bounce back in this one. And you got DeMarco Murray on the ground, and I think he can.
Said one guy to the other guy in the I formation. Didn't we say that last week? I'm telling you. I still don't think this Dallas team, defensively, is going to be able to stand up to the Tennessee Titans.
And I don't think Tennessee is as good as they played in the first game.
Well, week 1, we still have only got a small bit of a palette to go by and look at the landscape. But you're right, Tennessee, and I don't figure them to be in that division as well as, like I said, I see Houston and the Colts. That was my take on it earlier, and we were both sort of looking at that team being probably maybe under 500. But I don't know. Things could gel there, and they've made some decisions that I think have made that team stronger. Time will tell.
But
so anyway,
if I could just say something else there about Dallas. We talked about how bad their defense is, and last week in the second half of the game against San Francisco, they didn't allow a point the entire half. So that's a big reason why I'm going to pick them for the upset here in Tennessee.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens there. That's the 2 games we give her on. All the rest of these, now we agree. Jacksonville's going into Washington to play the Redskins. Can we still say Redskins? The Washington team.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. All right.
Well, I like Washington here.
I like Washington too, and I think they're better than the game they played this week as well. Houston handled them and shut them down offensively. I think look for big things on the ground from Alfred Morris this week.
I agree.
All right, next we've got Arizona going to play the Giants, and we're both against pretty much everybody on the panel that we're following. We're both picking the New York Giants here. And,
the only ones on the panel, actually. I think everybody else has Arizona.
We're the only ones that matter.
Yeah. Arizona played a great game last week. Palmer hit 11 different receivers. He only made 24 pass completions, but it was to 11 different receivers, and that's how Arizona's going to play their game this year, strategy. You never know who they're going to next. So, but I just think the Giants in their home opener and have something to prove here after a big loss last week against Detroit, and come out angry and play some smash mouth football and get this done.
And I think I said saying last week about Arizona. I mean, I picked them to be in a low-scoring game. That's how they win their games, and they're very, very tough to beat at home defensively.
Sure.
And I can say that too because I didn't say they were undefeated at home. But I am going to say that I know, give it up, right? Arizona held the Chargers to 17 points. And that's a key part of their game because offensively, even though they're spreading that ball around as well as they are, they're not putting points on the board. And I think that's going to be the ultimate downfall against the weapons that Manning has at home, having a good day, righting the ship. Yep. You're absolutely right. Miami is going into Ralph Wilson to play the Buffalo Bills. Tough game.
It's going to be a very good game.
Miami underestimated the Bills last year and got smacked in the face early in the season. And now, I'm loving the love all week, and as a matter of fact, I was just reading another article just before we went to film about how this O-line is looking fantastic already for Miami.
Well, like I said, if that O-line gels quickly, they can be a big surprise.
They could, yeah.
Look good in the first game.
Double digits for sure. I'm thinking they held Ryan Tannehill, I might have said 46 sacks last week. He led the league last year. It was actually 58 sacks.
Wow.
Which is... That's a lot.
It's getting beat up.
Well, yeah, it is. Yeah. And I've made that bold prediction, 25 or less, and what a huge turnaround that would be for a team to do that. And defensively, they're looking solid. I think that they're just too much for that Buffalo team. I think defensively, they're going to cause more issues. They're going to cause turnovers, like they did in the second half against the Patriots. They outscored the Patriots 23-0. In the second half this week, and that's how you win ball games. Turnovers.
I see Miami stuffing the run on the ground. I also see Buffalo stuffing Miami's run on the ground. The game's going to be brought to the air. Still going to be close. I think it's going to be low scoring, and I see Miami coming out on top by a score.
A major.
We lost. Miami lost to Nell Ellerby though.
And Koemisi has still got the issues with his ankle. He's out of the lineup as well. So that's, but the linebackers have really stepped up. The young linebackers. I mean, one of those rookies last week had a sack. You know, they sacked Brady 4 times.
Sure.
You know,
defensive depth. Sure. Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I think Miami by a major score. That's a good call. Yeah, next, we've got New Orleans going into Cleveland to play the Browns, and I mean, New Orleans is licking their wounds after this last week's loss in overtime, in that divisional game against the Falcons. Yeah. And I just think they're just too much for that Cleveland team. Brian Hoyer is not the man that's going to lead them to the promised land. And I don't think Johnny... Yeah, well, no. And I don't think Manziel is capable of doing it either. But, just a couple of... some problems there with people that are missing out of that lineup. And I just think New Orleans is going to I think they're going to take them apart at home. And I don't generally see it that way because Cleveland, in the dog pound, are tough defensively as well.
Usually, yeah.
But I just don't see it.
I think that after the big game that Marcus Colson had last week, you probably see Joe Hayden on Marcus Colson this week. Look for a big game from Jimmy Graham.
I got him in my fantasy pools. All right. Up we go now to St. Louis is now in Tampa Bay this week to play the Buccaneers, who, if they had 5 quarters in a football game, would have won that game last week. Again, everything at the last minute. 2 quick scores, lost by a field goal, 17-14, I think it was. Maybe. It was close.
Doesn't matter. It was close.
No, it doesn't matter. Doug Martin was anemic, but did manage to hug his coach. It was former principal, was it?
There's no hugging in football.
Get that again. There's no hugging in football. We're going to actually do, I think, a bumper sticker. That would be awesome. Yeah, you're right. I think... and we're both agreeing here that Tampa Bay at home is
defense led by Levante David, and they're very good defensively at home. And St. Louis just really didn't look good last week against Minnesota. I don't think there's going to be a blowout by any means. I think we're looking at a close game.
It'll be a respectable game, though. You'll see they'll deserve to win this. I think they win it within less than 6 points. I'm thinking that's my guess. Yep. Next we've got the Seahawks going into San Diego to play the Bolts, and after the way Arizona handled them at home last week, holding them to 17 points, I don't see Seattle being able to generate any kind of offense that's going to even come close to taking on the Seahawks. This could be a low-scoring game, depending on how the run goes and how San Diego handles the run. But with respect to Baker, there's just no way. Defensively, they just do not match up with the Seahawks. So defensively, you'll probably see a big game from Richard Sherman. I love what Aaron Rodgers said to him this week. Did you see that?
No.
Aaron Rodgers, when they finished the game, he tapped him on the back of the head, kind of said, he said, "I hope you get some work this year."
Oh, is that right?
Which was a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, not one ball came Sherman's way in that game.
And that's respect.
But they dismantled the high-powered Green Bay offense, and Seattle's defense is just the best in the game. You got to look at no further than Bobby Wagner, middle linebacker there. This guy had 22 tackles in this ball game. In one game, 22 tackles. He's one of the best defensive players in the game. Seattle is just full of defensive stars. And they're going to go into San Diego now. San Diego has a good ball hawking defense, but Russell Wilson is good at not allowing turnovers.
They just look so balanced on both sides of the ball, and it's looking better and better every time.
Russell Wilson is budding into a superstar. He's not a super. I think he's a superstar already. What a game! We watched this game, and what a game it was.
Look, like I said before, look at the pedigree he's coming through. Look at that class of quarterbacks that he came through, and who's the one with the ring, baby?
That's right.
You can say that's one for you, Paul. Next week got Kansas City going into Denver, I remember last year getting so excited, the two undefeated teams when they went in and played that Monday nighter.
Yeah. And
let me tell you, two different teams here. Don't see Kansas City even holding the candle to that Denver team, who's just gotten much better. And they're a solid team.
I see it. Maybe they stick close for and a half before Manning blows them out in the second half.
I think you're right.
I don't see it being very close. I'm going to say Denver by 20.
Can you feel the homer love, folks? Yeah, I agree. We even got that clock up behind us now, you know. The clock's ticking, Peyton. You want to see if you want to match Eli's second ring. Anyway, on to the New York Jets going into Green Bay to play the Cheeseheads.
I don't see this as close. I really don't. I know Jets got a great defense and all, but the Packers are at home now. They're pissed off after last week's loss, and you know they got a great offense. The Jets, they won the week against Oakland. Oakland doesn't have much, so.
And you know, Starks had a huge game for them in a losing effort. He played really.
He did.
Really
he played
well.
Awesome. Yeah.
You know, so look for more from him, and you know, as he's vying to be number one in that role there.
Yeah.
And I think that Jordy Nelson, right?
Nelson's one of the best receivers in the game. Has been for a few years.
And you know what, Aaron Rodgers, and I've said this for but you've been watching this for 3 years. I still think that Aaron Rodgers, pound for pound, is the best quarterback in the game right now. And he's a professor. I mean, I realize Peyton Manning is good at the read, and he's very good at managing his team. Took a little bit of a step back in that 43-8 thing, but I don't think I've ever seen in his career in another game where he was physically tapping people on the back trying to get him on the offensive line. So, I mean, you know what? He's good at what he does, and he reads the game very well. But Rodgers is a professor, and he knows how to get the ball out to you. So, you're right. I don't think this is close either. I'm thinking 2 scores.
I agree.
Right.
Sounds good.
Okay, now we got the Houston Texans going to Oakland to play the Raiders in the Black Hole.
Houston didn't look that great last week. Oakland looked even worse, so I'm looking at a low-scoring game here. I think Houston wins in the end by 6 points.
I think you're going to see some more offense from Houston this week. J.J. Watt was he was a beast. So Houston did a good job of holding the Washington Redskins to virtually no points. There was no major score, and I just think defensively, that's how they're going to pick apart Oakland. Oakland is usually a good team with a lot of swagger at home, but I think Houston will frustrate them and stymie them offensively.
I think that's a good call. I like that.
Okay, so next we got the Bears going into San Francisco to meet the new and improved San Francisco 49ers, who I think are inflated with the win against the Cowboys, and they should be cautiously optimistic playing a team like the Chicago Bears, who defensively have taken a step back already this year, but offensively you can get With the likes of Alshon Jeffrey at a film now, we're still not sure if he's going to be back or not. He had a hamstring issue and left game one. You've also got Brandon Marshall.
Yeah.
You've also got Martellus Bennett.
Matt Forte.
Right? Yeah, we haven't even mentioned the running backs. So there's a lot of weapons there, and I think I wouldn't want to underestimate the Chicago Bears going in there. They could conceivably go in there and keep this game close, but San Francisco needs to make sure that Crabtree needs to have a good game.
San Francisco's defense did show up against Dallas, and they created 4 turnovers.
Wow.
And they still got a lot of talent there on that defense. I see this as well as being a very close game.
I think so too. They're going to play a real opponent this year, and I'm sorry to the Dallas fans out there, but let me tell you, it was Dallas, and it's hard to measure the stick against that team right now the way they are. And of course, Jerry Jones has got his hands full with some things going on down there too, but his attorneys are denying all that too. We could talk about that.
Niners by 3.
Niners by 3? Oh, that's a gutsy call. I probably would have given him a touchdown, but hey, yeah, we both agree the Niners. Finally, the Monday Nighter. We've got the Eagles going into Lucas Oil Stadium to play the Colts. The Colts, who had a really good showing in Denver, and I really think Philadelphia is not going to be able to handle this team at all.
Well, they lost. The Colts did lose Robert Mathis for the season. That hurts. But the Colts are a great team at home. They have been for the last few years. And I think you're right. I think they have enough defense there to hold off the Eagles. And their offense is still very good.
Well, this is it. I think for Indianapolis to be as successful as I'm calling them to be this week, Mathis is definitely a big smack.
Yeah.
But they need to be gunslingers. They need to score 25, 30, 35 points a game. And they have the capability with Reggie Wayne. And, of course, I mentioned Hakeem Nicks last week as my player of the game. He only got 5 looks, but he did score a touchdown, a 9-yard touchdown pass. Did get open, right, on a scramble. So, I mean, that's the kind of thing Nicks is going to have to do and add to that team.
Andrew Luck really amazed me in the last game. He was working with, they've had some injury trouble on that offensive line. He was working with a patchwork offensive line there. And he just played a fantastic game, especially in the second half, obviously. And I think the Colts are definitely going to win that division. And like Jeff said earlier in the week, they still may win 12 or 13 games this year. Soft schedule, but great team.
I just hope that Gillette picks him up and gives him an endorsement.
A soft schedule after this week, that is.
He's got to lose the beard, man.
Who's that?
He's got to lose the beard.
Who?
Luck.
Oh, Luck, yeah. Well,
yeah, he needs a Gillette endorsement. I mean, it's all right if you can grow one. Sorry, man. Anyway, that's how we see the games this week. Stick around. In a minute, we're going to come back and we're going to tell you our teams of the week and our players of the week.
Hello, and now we're back with our picks for Team of the Week and Player of the Week. What do you think, Jeff?
This week I'm going to pick the Detroit Lions to go into Carolina, and really, I think they're going to maybe even school the Carolina Panthers at home after that soft win last week. And I'm going to go out and I'm going to say Megatron, Calvin Johnson, for Player of the Week as well. So a nice tidy package. Yeah. How about you?
I'm going to call the Green Bay Packers as my team of the week because they took a bad loss against Seattle last week, and they're really going to want to beat up on the Jets this week, and I think that's going to be a couple of scores for sure.
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
That's right.
I think Green Bay is going to have a big game at home. They're going to show a lot of offensive talent here. Jordy Nelson probably have a big game. But my player for the week is coming from the Saints, Jimmy Graham. I think Jimmy Graham is going with Marcus Colson. I'm expecting to be shadowed by Hayden on Cleveland. That'll leave Jimmy Graham up for a couple of touchdowns. I look for Graham to get at least 2 touchdowns this week and 100 yards for sure.
That's what you're hoping anyway. You got him going against me in our fantasy pool this week.
Really?
Yeah, I think.
Excellent.
Pretty sure when I went in and checked everything out. I'm not worried at all. Well, there you have it. That's the show for this week. Come back and see us next week and see how we did. And feel free to post your picks and your synopsis on our Facebook page. And we are just simply the I Formation. Also, you can get us on Twitter at the I Formation. And we also have a Gmail address, right? The iformation@gmail.com. Feel free to leave your comments, your concerns, anything you might think we did wrong this week. Certainly will be greatly appreciated. And, of course, enjoy the games on the weekend. And don't do anything stupid. If you're out watching the games, don't drink and drive. So, that's the way we saw it this week. Anything to add?
No, sir.
Okay, well, if that's the case, it's good night from me.
And it's good night from him. Have fun.